Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Rolling Funds AMA. I'm Jill. I'm the venture principal here at Capital Factory. For those of you that are not familiar with Capital Factory, we're the center of gravity for entrepreneurs in Texas. We throw a ton of events and programming. We have a co-working space for entrepreneurs. We have an accelerator program and a venture fund, which I work on exclusively. Today, I am joined by Kyle Samani, the co-founder and managing partner at Multicoin Capital.
Hey, Jill.
Hey, Kyle, how are you?
Good to see you. Great to see the Capital Factory community here.
Yes, it's right behind me. You can't really see it too well, but I am here in the office. It looks like you're joining us from Park City, if I'm not mistaken.
I am in the mountains. I love it out here.
Oh, wonderful. Well, it looks like we'll both be getting some snow tonight, which is great. A big difference for Texas, that's for sure. Wonderful. Well, you have an incredible background, Kyle, and we obviously have limited time. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. For those of in the audience that are not familiar with you, do you mind just giving a brief background of yourself and your journey to founding Multicoin?
Sure. I grew up in Austin, Texas. My dad's a computer scientist. My mom's a dentist. Started my own practice. Very fortunate. Both of my parents are entrepreneurs. I've always had kind of that, I guess, DNA in my family. Started programming when I was a kid. Went to NYU, studied finance. Came back to Austin after college. Did my first tech startup in 2013 called Pristine. Pristine built software for Google Glass for surgeons. I know Glass was kind of a silly consumer product, but it was a very interesting tool for surgeons because surgeons are sterile. They have to work with their hands. Raised venture, grew to almost 30 employees or so, got to a few million in revenue. And then you may remember that Google killed Google Glass, which was a small problem for the business. I ended up pivoting the company. Company was ultimately acquired in a small talent pickup acquisition. I left the company kind of around the end of 15. And in the early part of 16, I discovered this thing called Ethereum. Ethereum is what really pulled me into crypto. I think two things stood out to me about Ethereum. One was I had the rug pulled out from under me working with Google on Glass. I understood what platform it was and kind of recognized the power of this decentralized open platform in Ethereum. And the second thing that kind of stood out to me was I was at the time fiddling around with some of Stripe's APIs. And I remember not being very impressed. I was like, you can take a credit card payment and not a lot else. This is March of 2016. But it was a very hyped up company, which I thought was just kind of strange. A few weeks later, I discovered Ethereum, and I was like, "Oh, this is just infinitely more flexible," and that really struck me as being a very kind of important way to think about programming value and finance. Over the next kind of 9-12 months, fell down the rabbit hole. Started spending more and more of my time reading and learning about crypto, investing in the space. I tried to launch some other businesses during that time because I thought crypto was still kind of a joke hobby thing. But by the spring of 2017, realized I developed a full-time internet hobby and decided to turn that into a profession. So in May of 17, we decided to launch Multicoin. We being my co-founder Tushar and I, we have been best friends since college. And we launched our hedge fund on October 1st of 2017. We have added a series of venture funds. We are currently investing out of our third venture fund, which is about $450 million. Our hedge fund is, I don't know, call it 8 billion or something. We have a team of 16 people now all over the world, and we invest full time in crypto things.
I love it. I love it. Well, let's go back to what you first mentioned about Pristine Health. So you founded Pristine Health on top of Google Glass, which you said, Google ended up completely knocking this platform. But at the time when you founded it, it was, a very new technology. It was a new platform. And I've noticed in your career, you've been betting a lot on these super new technologies and platforms. I'm curious, why did you choose to kind of bet on Google Glass, and what was kind of the impetus to start Pristine Health?
I have what I like to call shiny new object syndrome.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah, I like new toys that are fun and exciting, and that was really what kind of got me going. Nothing more complicated than that. I was working in health IT already previously, and had a reasonable understanding for healthcare workflows. And it just kind of made sense that glass would be used in healthcare environments because it allows you to maintain sterility on your hands, keep both hands working. So that was kind of the impetus to get started. I learned a lot about the hard way about being too early. The hardware was way too early. Still is too early. I remember when I left Pristine at the end of 2015, I was like, by 2020 it should work. And
or be wiped out altogether.
Still not there yet. So
oh man, now we have Oculus, a little different.
Oculus is close, but yeah, not quite there. So learned a really painful lesson about being too early.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Well, so about 2 years into Pristine, and about the time the company was achieving profitability, you were removed from the company by your lead investor. People can look online. There's headlines detailing the saga that, unfortunately unfolded. I'm curious how that experience really impacted your thoughts on raising venture funding. I know you're still doing it today. So how that impacted your thoughts around raising venture funding and also just choosing your investors and how you vet them.
One of the largest kind of logical fallacies is like over-indexing what happens to you and under-indexing statistics, or the inverse, which people also do frequently. The substantial majority of venture-backed companies today don't have serious problems between board and founders. There's always a natural tension, but that's actually kind of healthy in most cases. And certainly in the last 10 years and in the last 5 years, it's gotten easier just to not have shitty VCs who remove the founders. It's just increasingly difficult. So I'm not jaded by it in any way. I think VC venture is a great thing, and you need people who want to take risks to go fund things. Obviously, the lesson I learned was just do more homework on your VCs. I could have known in advance that Brian was going to be a challenging partner, and I was just a little ignorant at the time. But it's okay. I ended up here, and I couldn't be happier where I am now. So it's a little bumpy along the way, but sometimes a little scar tissue is good for you in the long term.
Absolutely. Well, fast forwarding today, after your departure from Pristine, I know you mentioned that you tinkered around with some other ideas for a little bit, but ultimately ended up founding Multicoin with your partner Tushar. For those in the audience who don't know, Capital Factory actually did back Pristine, Kyle's previous company. And we were excited to, back whatever you did next, although we had never previously backed a fund before, but it turned out to be a great decision. We're very happy we're a part of Multicoin. So tell us about Multicoin and how the firm has evolved really since your inception in 2017. The markets have obviously changed drastically.
Look, we've learned a lot. We didn't know what the hell we were doing when we started. We were just kind of trying to raise angel money from friends, 50,000 at a time, kind of here and there. And it worked at the beginning. It was a really scrappy thing. And we had to learn what portfolio management means and learn what risk means and think about counterparty risk and leverage and derivatives. And the space has evolved now. It's obviously very global, and we interact with people in China and Europe and all over the place. It's been kind of a wild ride. We were extremely lucky with our timing. We launched at the end of we had 3 months in 2017, which, those 3 months, our fund was up 3x in that 2-month period. And that was just enough that we were able to get enough AUM and enough management fees to survive through the bear market. We made one really good call in 2018 that saved us a lot of losses. But otherwise, it's not clear that we would have survived. A lot of funds that launched at the end of 17 and early 18 just could not survive. They didn't have the management fees to keep going. We had to raise some GP capital as well. We were by no means profitable in the early days. So it was a tough journey, but it was super fun. We were fortunate today. We're now working with world-class legal teams, audit teams, everything else, and can kind of support our whole staff. I'm not sure I answered your full question, but hopefully that was helpful.
No, it's great. It's great. You mentioned it was 2017 when you founded Multicoin, which is obviously the year that Bitcoin had hit an all-time high of 20K and then, came crashing back down. And so to be able to see that firsthand, I'm curious why, you were like, cryptocurrency is the next industry that I want to go after. Like, why was that the market going from healthcare to crypto, but especially at a time when the markets were super volatile?
Yeah, I mean, I just got really jaded by healthcare. Like, I just got sick of it. It's so slow and kind of miserable, and I never want to go back. One thing I learned was I learned what it was like to fight gravity, and like I'm a pretty persistent person and have a good work ethic, and so I was able to fight gravity for Pristine and get this thing off the ground out of kind of sheer force of will. But I've now seen like what it's like when you don't have to fight gravity, when you can like go down the water slide with gravity, and it turns out that's just a lot more fun. And that's picking the right market is really all that you need to do. And so you know, just I discovered crypto. It was clear that something was happening. Even at the time in 2017, I did not appreciate the magnitude of what was happening, but thought it was very cool and exciting. Yeah, just like, I mean, for those who follow crypto even a little bit, there's these really stimulating intellectual debates. There's a lot of colorful characters with all kinds of crazy worldviews. It's just a fun. I mean, it's not a friendly place, but certainly it's a very fun place.
But a fun one nonetheless.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, kind of focusing in on your portfolio a bit, you guys have had quite a few home runs, but probably one of the most well known by everyone would be Solana. Tell us about Solana, and what about it compared to other competitors like Ethereum that you mentioned was, you know, one of the first ones you played around with and were excited about. Why were you excited about Solana compared to other of their competitors, and why were you willing to bet on them ultimately?
Yeah, so I got into crypto in 2016. Ethereum was what really kind of pulled me in. I was drawn to this programming model thing. But by the end of 2017, early part of 18, I'd been in the industry for about 2 years. And I started to grow pretty frustrated with Ethereum. I was like, well, guys, there's no scaling roadmap here. It's been 2 years. There's absolutely nothing has changed. Started to kind of realize the Ethereum Foundation, like no one actually gave a shit. No one was really working. All of the early Ethereum people made way too much money and retired, and just didn't care. And that really bothered me. Meanwhile, kind of what happened is through the latter part of 17, a lot of the smartest distributed systems engineers in the world looked at Ethereum and were like, "This thing is stupid. I can design something better." One of those people was Anatoly. There were a handful of others who were also quite credible. Met Anatoly in March, April of 2018. And there were a few things that kind of stuck out to us about Solana relative to the other layer ones that were trying to launch around the same time. One was Anatoly's background. He had absolutely no academic background and like was almost loath to academia. Basically, every other layer one founder in crypto has a pretty strong academic background. And Anatoly hates academia. And I found that to be very compelling. Second was he didn't care about the ethos of crypto. His only goal was make the thing go really fast. And I was 2 years into crypto, and there's all this kind of intellectual circle jerking of like, oh, we're maximally decentralized, and like not focusing on scaling your systems. And that really resonated with me with Anatoly. And the third was just he actually had a use case in mind. And he actually, before launching Solana, one was trying to write bots to trade stocks on interactive brokers, which is kind of the most sophisticated retail trading engine you can use. And he was really frustrated with interactive brokers because he couldn't get access to the order book data on NASDAQ or NYSE. And started to realize, oh man, only Jump and Virtue and Citadel and those guys can get access to the order book. And when he kind of looked at Ethereum, he understood, if I can build a decentralized system, I can actually have an open order book where anyone can access the order book. And so he had kind of a North Star guiding him from day one on what he was optimizing for. And the system was being optimized to support basically decentralized NASDAQ. I remember that kind of combination of things when we first met him. We were like, this makes a lot of sense. This guy knows what he's building. He has the technical pedigree to ship the thing that he wants to ship. And got excited. Over the next kind of 6 to 9 months, as we spent more time with him, and we kept seeing more and more pivots from the Ethereum people seeing understanding more about the other scaling approaches, we grew more and more conviction in what they were doing, and just understanding like how people were using these systems. Notably, DeFi kind of started to emerge around the end of 18 or early part of 19, and as we understood more and more about DeFi, the more bullish we became on Solana's architecture to support that environment. And so we kept on doubling down on Solana. We ended up leading all 3 private rounds of financing. We ended up buying out a lot of the other investors who got cold feet. And the network launched in April of 2020, a few weeks after COVID, kind of caused stock markets and crypto markets to crash. So they launched at the exact bottom of sentiments. And then a couple months later, a guy named Sam Bankman-Fried discovered Solana. He is the founder of FTX, which is, in our opinion, kind of the most important institution in crypto today in the world. It's one of the largest trading venues and certainly the most sophisticated and advanced trading venue. And he was trying to build some stuff on DeFi and got really sick of Ethereum and looked at all the layer ones and realized Solana had the right ethos of building a global order book, which is the guy who runs an exchange. He understood the importance of building a global order book. So Sam ended up launching Serum in August of 2020. And from there, kind of that catalyzed this whole ecosystem to start rallying around Solana. Today, the Solana ecosystem is really vibrant. We have backed probably, I'm going to say 30 teams building on top of Solana. We've invested probably 200 million, maybe 250 million into those teams. Other investors have collectively probably put in 5 billion into the Solana ecosystem. And that's A16Z, Sequoia, Lights, everyone, you name it.
All the top tier.
Yeah, and it's just a booming ecosystem, and we're having a ton of fun.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations on getting in very early to Solana and sticking with them. Seems like it was a pretty fantastic bet for you all. Well, I was reading the headlines this morning, and I saw you all just announced an investment in a company called Dune Analytics. I love their Series B round. They raised $69,420,000, which is, a great way to make headlines. But I've got to say, yeah, pretty great Series B to raise. But from my understanding, what I could kind of glean from the articles is that they're making crypto data accessible and really consumable through a community-driven platform, and trying to reward these analysts for turning data into actual insights that folks can use. But why, I'm curious for this investment, why is it important that this data is open and available to community versus perhaps being on a specific chain or being held behind a subscription?
Yeah, so this is Dune's 3rd fundraising round, and we were fortunate to have invested in all 3 rounds. We led the seed, helped added in the A, and added more in the B. What Dune is all the blockchain data is all open and public, and no one can stop you from getting it. But if you want to make lots of nice dashboards and visuals and charts and stuff, you obviously need to pull all that data out of a blockchain, make it indexed in some sort of query system, and then obviously have all the visualization tools to make all the graphs and stuff. And so Dune provides all of that in a very nicely packaged box. Dune hooks up to all of the major public chains today, other than Solana, although they're very close to launching Solana support. And it's just a phenomenal tool. When Dune approached us about their seed round, our investment thesis was it is our favorite product that our analysts use and that I use. And so we were like, let's go.
No brainer.
Yeah, it's just like when it's your favorite product as an investor, why wouldn't you not invest in it? It's been a year and a half since we first invested. And the other really interesting thing we've kind of learned about Dune is they've really leaned into this community-first approach. So instead of the Dune team saying, hey, we have designed this dashboard, here you go with whatever metrics and such, they've said, hey, here's basically a SQL engine. Anyone can write SQL queries with these parameters, and you can produce any arbitrarily complex dashboard you want. And the crypto community has built, at this point, probably thousands of dashboards, maybe tens of thousands, that kind of visualize everything you can imagine in these systems. As DeFi kind of took off over that same period, it turns out people really want, especially finance people, like numbers and data. So everyone loves pretty charts and graphs, and Dune just became like the go-to place because you had, a collective community of people building these things. Those people share that stuff. Those things go viral on Twitter. They get embedded in blog posts and mediums and whatever else. And Dune has just become the standard kind of visualization tool to visualize blockchain data. In terms of how does Dune make money, they do charge a subscription fee today if you want to add certain features and functions. Most of it, the platform is free, but there are certain features that are paid for, and they're actually cash flow positive on that alone. Although they're not optimizing for profitability in any way. Their goal is just to be the dominant place that everyone goes to build these queries and remix things. And I do expect that they have a strategy on how they're going to think about tokens and some other things to unlock some really cool things with the community. We're pumped about Dune. They're a great team, phenomenal story. And yeah, we're excited to see Kotu lead the new round.
Yeah, and they're Oslo based, correct? How did you guys get originally in contact with them?
Yeah, so the team is based in Norway, I think, or Oslo. Yeah, on the Scandinavia. I actually met the founder, Frederick, at a ski trip. Crypto, there's like people organize various crypto ski trips. And I met him at one of those. And he was the guy going off of the ramps doing 540s off of the ramp.
You're like, I would invest in him.
He is awesome. Okay. So we met there. We stayed in touch. And we actually ended up passing on the pre-seed. They ended up not raising a pre-seed. They just bootstrapped it until people kept falling all over themselves to give them money, at which point we were the lemmings at that point as well.
Oh, awesome. Well, you'll have to invite him out to Park City with you at some point. Well, so for capital factoring Multicoin, we've done several co-investments at this point. One of probably our favorites in the portfolio being Helium, which creates decentralized wireless infrastructure. And we were actually able to share this investment because it met our thesis of being a Texas-based company. But most crypto companies we've noticed are not based in Texas. They tend to be global, all over the world. But I'm curious from your perspective and what you're seeing with this huge influx of talent and corporates that are flocking to Texas. Are you also seeing crypto-focused companies following suit, not just to Austin, but maybe perhaps Texas in general?
There are definitely more teams in Texas for sure. Since COVID and a lot of people have left SF, a ton of the employees at a lot of the major firms have moved to Austin. A number of funds have moved to Austin, Distributed Global, Ikigai, Hypersphere, maybe a handful of others. So a lot of that talent's moved. There's definitely more founders in Texas. I would say Texas skews more towards mining just because of the energy, wind stuff here or whatever. We admittedly don't invest really in mining, so I'm not super plugged into that community. But there's a pretty large community of mining opportunities here. And there are an increasing number of founders. At least one of our portfolio founders is based in Austin.
Okay, awesome. Well, outside of Helium, are there any other crypto and Texas-based companies that Multicoin has invested in?
Audius, Forrest, who's one of the founders of Audius, lives outside of Austin. I don't know. Audius I'll say they're based in the metaverse. I'm not sure they have
no location
anymore. They are down now. They actually dissolved their C Corp.
Okay.
Forrest is in Austin. He's one of the founders there. He's awesome.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I know Miami's kind of been giving us a run for our money. They've done a really great job of recruiting and supporting these crypto companies. How have you seen kind of Texas support and cultivate the ecosystem? And what do you think they should probably do more of to attract more crypto-focused companies here?
The biggest thing is just talent getting together. Like, crypto investors are very much global. Like, I haven't met a lot of our portfolio founders in person at this point. That's just kind of become the norm post-COVID. I don't think it's a lack of capital. And we can write pretty big checks, and there's enough others here as well. So I don't think it's that. It's just smart people who just want to take risk. That's really it. That's all you need now. I don't think it's like a policy thing or anything. Just hopefully we can get smart people here.
I know they're coming in droves right now, so hopefully we'll see an uptick there. Well, going away from crypto, you have obviously made a really strong brand for yourself within the industry, but you also personally invest outside of crypto. I know most recently we did a co-investment together in a company called Pipedream. But how do you think about your investments outside of cryptocurrency, and what industries or new technologies are you particularly excited about right now?
Yeah, so Multicoin doesn't invest outside of cryptos. I do. I have very high risk tolerance. My general preference is the weirder and crazier it is, the more I like it.
Mm-hmm.
So I invest in like Colossal, which is like trying to bring back woolly mammoths or something like that.
Pretty wild, Jurassic Park 2.0.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the goal. I generally want to invest in like really hard, weird problems. So no particular industry or area of focus. I just invested in a longevity research science thing, backed by Yuri Milner and some other folks. I can't admit that like I'm being terribly thoughtful about it. I'm not. I just want to give smart people money and let them go do things.
I love it. More moonshotty type companies, though, it sounds like.
The harder it is, the more I like it.
All right. Everyone heard it here first. Well, coming from just coming full circle, we obviously had met you a while ago and started investing in your companies. And then we started investing alongside one another. And then you invested actually in our latest venture fund and are now an LP with us. But I'm curious how Capital Factory, and in particular, our founders, Josh and Gordon, have kind of supported your entrepreneurial journey. It's really been amazing to watch from our perspective, but would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so I think I met Gordon first and then Josh in early 2013. So this has been 9 years now. Wow.
Makes you feel old.
Yeah. And Josh has been my primary point of contact over that time. And Josh has been nothing but supportive. Every time I've ever called him, texted him with anything, he's always been like, yep, what can I do? How can I help? He's always been a phenomenal resource. He believed in us early with Pristine when I really had no idea what I was doing. Even after I had some challenges with my VCs at Pristine, he was my first phone call and immediately was trying to help me figure out what to do and not to do. When we launched Multicoin, Josh invested in our GP and was in our first close in the fund. And he helped refer a ton of early LPs to us. I just can't. We worked out of Multicoin worked at Capital Factory for 6 or 9 months when we first started. So just been a phenomenal resource. I can't say enough good things about him. There's very few people that if I was having problems at 3 a.m, I would call and Josh.
That's good. I'm sure he'll always answer. He's always he's a live wire, always awake. Well, I'm going to move to a few audience questions. It looks like we have a few in the chat here. The first one is kind of around advice for new investors, it looks like. So it says, I'm looking to start a venture fund. What is your advice for a first-time fund manager?
Hustle.
Don't do it.
There's really nothing to getting people to invest, believe in you. There's no science, just hustle and then finding deals. Hustle, it's just really, really hard until you have a brand and that all those kind of flywheels start working. It is excruciatingly difficult. Be prepared to bust your ass. That's really all I can say.
All right. Got it. It looks like the next question is around Bitcoin. They said, you've made claims that once Bitcoin is flipped, it's pretty much game over. Once flipped, why do you think its value proposition ceases to exist?
Yeah, I would say among my peer set, I am without question the most bearish Bitcoin. I don't think you can find anyone more bearish Bitcoin than me. So all of these layer 1 systems have the basic property of being a non-sovereign store of value. They use cryptography to make sure people can't steal the money. They have a consensus algorithm, and there's like a known monetary policy. The Bitcoin people will tell you that Bitcoin's monetary policy is so perfect and pure because it has never changed, and that nothing else can ever rival that. And that statement is accurate, but I would say the framing is incomplete. Bitcoin does provide the strongest guarantees around future monetary policy. Let's say it provides 7 or 8 nines. I don't know, a lot of nines. But like Solana provides, 2 nines or 3 nines or something. Ethereum provides 2 or 3 nines of certainty around future issuance. And it turns out most people just don't care about that marginal difference. As you go from 2 or 3 nines to 7 nines, it's increasingly less valuable by definition. And so while Bitcoin is the best at that one thing, it sacrifices utility, throughput, usability, a bunch of other things. And our view is that most people don't care about that last 4 nines of precision in future monetary policy. Gold has been inflating at about 1.5% per year, so actually less than 2 nines of precision for the last 50, 60, 70 years. People are fine. You don't need perfect precision. And Bitcoiners are overvaluing precision.
Got you. And it looks like the last question is around kind of educational materials. It says, for those looking to dip their toes into crypto, what books, publications, or Twitter accounts are the best to follow?
The best media publication is The Block. In terms of Twitter accounts, start making your way into crypto Twitter. I mean, follow, I guess, me, follow, look at the people who yell at me whenever I tweet things, and you can kind of go from there.
Got you. Follow the trolls. Okay, well, just to close it out, for founders that are wanting to get in touch with you or Multicoin, what is the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, just ping me on Twitter. My DMs are open.
All right, wonderful. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for joining me today. It was great to chat with you. I know I learned a lot, so I hope everyone else did too. But we will chat soon. Have a good one.
Thanks, Jill. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.